Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 63 of the podcast. My name is Rick Deweese. I'll be your host this week. This week, we've got a bunch of letters to talk about. I talk about a camping trip that I just went on and survived, even though it was cold. I also have a report from, the Ministry of Sharp Things. I test out a new soap, Knockout Shave, handcrafted artisan tallow shaving soap. I'll tell you all about it. And then finally, a little bit about Balms and, the Strop choices that I've been making for dealing with my straight razors and how it's just a tad unusual. Not what I expected. Anyhow, let's get on with this show. Okay, I got a comment on one of my recent YouTube videos. I was posting the episode Critical Thinking up on YouTube, and Zarko sent me a comment, and he said, "This episode should be labeled 61. Great podcast." Well, Zarko, you're absolutely right. Oops. I have since fixed it, I believe, in fact, just now while I'm sitting here, because quite honestly, I haven't been back to my computer in quite some time. And today is kind of the first day that I've actually sat down and been at something other than an iPhone. And for some dang reason, I can't do this kind of stuff off my phone. But I have fixed it, so episode 61 is up and sitting in YouTube correctly labeled. So thank you very much, Zarko. I appreciate the comment. I got a letter from Mark. It's titled Education versus Wisdom. And in fact, I got this on Saturday, and it made such an impression on me that I read it Sunday to my scouts. They enjoyed it too. He writes, "Fellow traditional shavers, I have earned 3 master's degrees, but I had my life saved and became wise because of a woman. If you are educated, you know a tomato is a fruit. But if you are wise, you know not to put a tomato in a fruit salad." I was in training for the ministry at one time, and I studied Latin, Greek, and the origins of many of our words. The word respect comes from the Latin. It means worthy of a second look. I was once at an event, and a prominent political figure was there. As he walked by me, I extended my hand, hoping he would shake it. He took one look at me, looked away, and shook another person's hand. I felt slighted, literally disrespected. Introspection is from the Latin. It means to look into your image as in looking into a mirror, or one's reflection in a pond. My father was a Marine Corps sergeant. I remember when he would bark at his men to come out of the barracks, the first thing he would yell at them was, "Take a look at yourself." Henry David Thoreau once said, "Most men live lives of quiet desperation. Afraid to accept themselves, they look to become part of something bigger than themselves, and therefore seek acceptance from a group to have respect for themselves." Therefore, as teens, we join groups like gangs and fan clubs. As we leave adolescence and enter the adult life, we face the challenge of becoming independent. But as the great philosopher and theologian Thomas Merton once said, the paradox of men is that unless they accept and respect themselves as they are right now, they can never hope to change and grow. When I first got married and advanced to a professional job, I hated to dress up. I hated to have my hair cut. I hated shaving. As a therapist, I was trying to help people who suffered trauma, low self-esteem, and a lack of dignity. My wife would tell me, "How are you going to teach others to respect themselves if you look like you don't care about your own self?" Many of my fellow therapists came to work dressed casually. Some would be unshaven, dressed in jeans. I remember one therapist who was assigned an elderly lady. The lady would never let him in her home. I wanted to tell him, "You look like a bum." My mother wouldn't have let you in either. In the act of traditional shaving, you are spending the time to whip up a good lather with a brush, and shaving forces you to look at yourself many times in the mirror. Mother Teresa once said, "If you want to know what a man values, find out where he invested his time." If you try to take a quick shower and dash out for work, are you doing introspection? Are you respecting yourself and the ones that you meet? It's my wife who says, take a little time and have some respect for yourself. Sometimes she says, have a little respect for the people you meet. After I shave, I come to her for an inspection of my shave. If it's well done, she'll give me a kiss on the cheek. My education may have told me about the word respect. It was the wisdom of my wife that has taught me what the word respect really means. So are you going to grab a plastic disposable multi-blade scratch stick and jump in the shower and pretend to shave? Or are you instead going to do some introspection? Do you believe any of those you meet are worthy of a second look? Then show you value yourself and others by spending some time on a good shave. I was educated in this, but it was my wife who set me wise to it. By the way, Rick, thank you for your work in the Boy Scouts. I recently took a look at my scouting manual from the 1960s. As I looked over the pages, I remember almost every page in the book. Of all the men I have had as clients in my practice, I have never treated a man who said they were in the Boy Scouts. The scouting movement is under a great deal of criticism lately by academics with their own agendas. Something tells me that these individuals are well educated, but not too wise. Cheap salsa bowl regards, Mark. Well, Mark, thank you very much for the letter. First off, I read it to my scouts, and they enjoyed it too. I think they started to understand the idea of jumping in a shower and running out the door. Whether they shave consistently at this point or just, do the shower thing because, well, their mothers and fathers tell them that they have to. It was interesting to see the looks in their faces. You could almost see the gears turning where maybe, just maybe, they were thinking to themselves that maybe it's something more than just a chore because mom and dad say so, but maybe in fact it is. It is that if I treat myself well, it shows that I am in a position to treat others well also. If I have the respect for myself to make sure that I am clean and neat and in good shape and in good condition and my clothes are as good as I can get them and, my shirt tails are tucked in and I'm neat, that I have the ability, I have the bearance, if you will, to allow myself to treat others with respect and dignity as well. And that says a lot. That is huge. If you've ever noticed, if you have a choice between, if you walk up to two total strangers, one who's dressed like a bum and the other one who's dressed neatly I want to use the word professionally, but that's not the context that I want. One that is dressed in a fashion that he has respect for himself and those that he is going to meet. Even if he's dressed up in clothes that are, dirty, you can tell if a person has respect for himself and his surroundings and those that are around him. Who would you rather go up to talk to? Me, I'd rather go up to the guy who works for a living but keeps his shirt tucked in and makes sure that, his hair is neat and even if he's got smudges on his face and dirt in his hands, that's okay. I'd rather talk to him because he has a certain level of personal respect. And if he has a certain level of personal respect, I know, or at least I think, that he may have some amount of respect for me as well. It's just kind of the way it goes. If you walk up to somebody that looks like they don't respect themselves at all, they don't care about themselves, they don't even like themselves, you have a tendency to avoid those people. Just because if they don't like themselves, well, they may not like you either. And if they treat themselves, well, like that, they're not going to treat you very well either. Now, whether that's true or not, that's the impression. And impressions go a long way, and they're formed very, very quickly. Usually we do it just when looking at someone. So, anyhow, Mark, thank you very much for the letter. I enjoyed sharing it with my scouts. It was very, very interesting to see their reactions. Thank you very much. I also got a letter from Tyler. He writes, "Hi, Rick. I hope all is going great on your end. I love your podcast and feel fortunate to have stumbled across it. I'm writing because today was a great day for me, and I felt it necessary to share my story. I was over at my grandmother's house enjoying a beautiful day with my family when my grandmother and I got into a conversation about antique shopping. She had the wonderful fortune of stumbling across an old oak chair that was the exact same make and design that her father, my great-grandfather, had in his office when she was a child. I've heard many stories from her about this chair, though I'll admit early in life I never made the personal connection she had with the memory. I was more than happy for her today to learn that she had found it, as she has been looking for it for a better part of 20 years. Our conversation of her experience at the antique shop transitioned into my recent purchase of a 1953 Y3 Gillette Milord that I picked up at an antique shop 2 weeks ago. As soon as my grandmother heard the words double-edge shaving roll off my lips, she quickly said, "Hang on a minute." What happened next was nothing short of jaw-dropping. She returned with a 1960 F1 Gillette Fat Boy Adjustable, a 1964 J1 Gillette Flare Tip Super Speed, a 1976 W1 Gillette Black Handle Super Adjustable, an Old Spice Ship Recovery shaving mug, and a pack of Williams Mug shaving soap, which I quickly learned all belonged to my great-grandfather. To say I was excited to inherit these items would be an understatement. I still can't find the words to express how happy I am to have these items passed on to me. I realize that a quick trip to eBay or Etsy can quickly lead one to these items. However, my point is this. I would have never thought my grandmother would still have my great-grandfather's shaving tools in her possession, which is to say, I assumed. We have all seen stories in forums where traditional shavers have inherited supplies from family members, but we never feel like that person could be us. We all owe it to ourselves to ask our family members if these pieces of family history are still around, and if so, can we put life back in them? I feel blessed to have these razors and shaving accessories, not because of what they are, but because of where they came from and where they will go. I look forward to passing these treasures on to my son one day. But until then, I'm selfishly going to shave the heck out of them. Happy shaving, Tyler. Well, Tyler, first off, great letter. Can't agree more. I understand you are so fortunate to have a piece of your family history that you get to use every single day, that you get to share with your son as he gets older. And that is just, that's, wow. That's beyond fantastic. That is, well, that's what life is supposed to be about, to be able to share those experiences, to be able to share that family history, to be able to make those connections through the things that you do in your daily life for both you and your son so that it becomes more meaningful to both of you as time goes on. That's just cool. Great letter. Great letter. Thank you very much for sending it to me. Here's one. Dark Bulb sent a tweet out, and he said, I think BrushnBlade, which is my Twitter handle, still offers free advertising spots for artisan soap makers. Just write it up and he'll read it. Well, he's absolutely right. Whether you're an artisan soap maker, razor maker, blogger, brush maker, doesn't matter. If you're trying to get the word out, let me know. I'll help you. If you can write it up, write it up. If you want to read it, send me the file. I'll put it on the air. If you don't want to read it, I'll read it for you. If you don't have it written up, I'll help you write it up. The thing that I'm trying to do is get the word out. And if you've got a product out there that you think somebody will be that somebody would like, that somebody would enjoy, that somebody would appreciate, that needs to be out there in the community, whether it's a shave balm, a new brush, a new type of razor, anything, I will help you out. All you got to do is drop me a line. And in fact, we've got someone who's taken me up on the offer, so they'll be at the end of the show. So I got this letter from M, my salsa bowl experience. Greetings, Rick. First off, let me say I've been a subscriber since episode 1. Well, first off, right off the bat, I got to stop there and say thank you. Episode 1 was a long time ago, and it wasn't really very good, but thank you. Anyhow, he goes on. I've been a subscriber since episode 1, and it has helped me get through some tough work days. Listening to you tout the virtues of using a salsa bowl to build your lather each week always made me laugh. I thought, does it really work that well? I'm here to let everyone know that it sure does. I recently confiscated one of my wife's small Tupperware bowls that's been around in the drawer, but we don't have a lid for. The interior of the bowl has contours from years of use that really help with lathering. I have an expensive bowl that I may be trading in the near future, as this Tupperware dish is my go-to. Also, I recently acquired a 1960 Gillette flare tip in a trade. I've been wary of Gillette products for a while now because of the bill of goods they've foisted on us. I had vowed to never have one of their products in my bathroom again. I decided to relent this one time, and I'm sure glad I did. It's a great little shaver, and it's in pristine condition. The handle's a bit shorter than I would have liked, but it works very nicely. It's in my rotation now. Keep up the good work, Rick. Salsa bowl regards, Matt. Well, Matt, thank you very much for the letter. Small bowls, Tupperware, silicone, they all work well, and they can all be made to work well. Now, the one thing that I have found is that the small cereal bowls or berry bowls with their very slick surfaces, they have a tendency to not build a lather quite as quickly. You can still build one, but it's not quite as quick. Now, if you get a Tupperware bowl or a salsa bowl that you can put a little bit of texture in, or if it's got some ridges or bumps or something like that, it really helps build things up quickly. I'm also glad you got the 1960 flare tip, because I like flare tips. I've got about 4 of them at this point. Anyhow, Matt, thank you very much for the letter. Well, this has been a heck of a week. It really has. It's been one of those weeks where you kind of sit back when it's all said and done and go, wow, I survived. It was, well, to put it mildly, it was busy, and then it was, busy, and then busy on top of that. It was just, it was remarkable in all of the stuff that I ended up doing. So, since we last talked, I had planned to do an interview for this week's show, and I was going to do the interview and then found out, lo and behold, I had a scout camping trip that, well, quite honestly, with everything else that was going on, I had completely forgotten about. So, needless to say, the interview will be hopefully next week. But anyhow, so I went on my scout camping trip, and I don't know if you're a follower of the weather, but it was cold. Now, when I say it was cold, okay, there are some people up in the northern states that think, well, cold is, anything below freezing or even below zero. Well, for us, if it gets, even around freezing, if it gets in, the 30s, low 40s, we don't know quite how to act with that kind of temperature. This is, for us, that's that's Arctic. So anyhow, lo and behold, we did in fact go camping, and it was cold. It was drastically cold. However, we made the best of it because, like they've always said in Scouts, you don't have bad weather, you just have inadequate gear. Kind of like shaving, There are some shaves that quite honestly go bad because, the equipment that you're using is in fact just garbage. Now, in some cases, it also happens to be your prep. I'll talk about that more in a minute. But, it's... Anyhow, back to the camping story before I get off on some tangent that will just, take us down a rabbit trail that it'll take me an hour to get out of. Okay, so on to the camping trip. I took the bomb, if you will, and one of the things, it was 36 degrees outside, and we left at about 8:30 on Saturday morning, stayed Saturday night, and then came back Sunday. So Saturday, probably, it was around noonish, 11:30, noonish, somewhere in there. It's about lunchtime. I decided that, before I had lunch, I needed a good shave. We had a fire going. The kids were all set up as far as tents and things like that. The adults were set up. Everything was good. So, I had a little bit of free time. Well, what better thing to do than shave? It seemed obvious to me. So that's what I did. So I used my bomb, as I affectionately call it, and that is my plastic waterproof container that has my plastic silicone dog bowl in it that I use for a lather brush. I also had my 830 bore brush, which, quite honestly, if the handle was just a little bit different shape, it would be just as fantastic for me as the 1305. The 1305 just has a better handle. The same knot is on both of them, and the knot I cannot speak more highly of for a bore brush. Really, really fantastic. Anyhow, the shaving cream that I used was the Art of Shaving Lemon that my friend David had got me, and he happens to be in my scout troop, and he was along for the trip, so that was kind of nice. Now, you must understand that here I am outside since about 8 o'clock in the morning, so we've been outside about, call it 3 hours. Actually, I've been outside about 4 hours because of the packing and everything else. Now, not only is it cold with just a touch of wind, but in addition to that, being the lizards that we are, we have a tendency to stand in the sunlight to get warm. Well, duh, wouldn't anybody? Especially if you're just standing around. But anyhow, it was one of those things where my face was dry because of the cold, dry because of the wind, and slightly abused by the sun because, I'm out there playing lizard. Needless to say, it was one of those situations where, when I first got going. Now, you got to understand, I took this out, and instead of using a single-edged or a double-edged razor, I went with my straight razor, or at least one of my straight razors. So I decided that I was going to take the Newton & Sons razor with me. That's the one that Bill had honed up so beautifully, and it's still in very nice shape, I must admit. and I was going to use it. Now, as part of my kit, I also have a small mirror, signal mirror, travel mirror type thing that fits in the top of this thing. And so I proceeded to, stick a nail in a post about the right height and hang this thing on there. And just like back in the days of World War II and Korea and things like that, I proceeded to shave with a straight razor in the traditional fashion using this mirror. Now, I had never run into this situation in the past, but I have to say, kudos to those who have gone before and done this. The mirror is made out of plastic. Plastic is just a little bit light. There was a bit of a breeze, and the absolute most disconcerting thing I have ever experienced while shaving is have the mirror move around while I'm trying to handle a straight razor. So here I am. I'm not really cold. I'm dressed for the occasion and everything, and I did warm up the water. It wasn't hot, but it was warm. So here I am, straight razor in hand, lather on the face, looking in the mirror, and the mirror moves. Okay, crap. Is it me? Is my hand shaking? Am I about to slice my left nostril in two? Or is it just the mirror? Okay, it's just the mirror. Whew. Okay, I'm good here now. Okay, now it's shaking again. Okay, am I going to slice my jugular and start spewing blood all over the place? Or is it just the mirror? Okay, it's the mirror. Good. Okay, now I'm under my nose and the mirror is shaking. Am I going to slice my nose completely off along with my upper lip? Or is it, in fact, the mirror? It was really, really disconcerting to have that mirror get blown around by the atmosphere while I was trying to shave. So those that have gone before, that have shaved in those conditions during much more adverse conditions, with mortars going off and bombs flying and bullets and everything else, and after hopefully just surviving an offensive or something like that, kudos, absolute kudos to those brave men who went out there and did that and had enough of a desire to be clean-shaven and present themselves to the world in that manner, which I understand, but under those conditions, it was goodness. It was quite eye-opening, not just because of the cold. It was eye-opening because of, the environment, if you will. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was in an absolutely lovely location. We were on a lake, and we were right out on a point, and I was, they had a picnic shelter there, and so I was shaving in the picnic shelter, and I was overlooking the lake on both sides. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous. Cold, but gorgeous. But the wind threw an unexpected element in there. So now the good news is, at least I found it was good news, is that my scouts looked on with curiosity and admiration and thinking, okay, is he going to cut himself? We're going to have to do first aid. But I survived with no nicks, no cuts, no bruises, nothing untoward. So it was all good stuff. And again, the razor did very well. Now, the one thing that was, I'm not going to say disconcerting, but and not even concerning, but something that I wasn't used to. I am used to stropping my razor both before, and after my shave. And I didn't bring a strop. And I actually thought about taking off my belt and using that, but, I didn't. But I did think about it. And it was when I got the razor back out after the adventure, when I got home and had a chance to kind of clean up and survey the damage, what I noticed is that there was a layer of shaving cream, even though I had done my best to get it off, on the razor. Okay. It doesn't hurt it at all, it's no big deal, but it was one of those things where it's like, that's interesting. I wonder how I'll deal with that in the future. So, I may have a travel strop or something like that, but it was, all in all, a great experience. The Art of Shaving Lavender. Now, that is an interesting animal there. What I noticed was, first off, great lather performance. It lathered well, good glide, good cushion. I mean, it was good stuff. But because of my wind-burned and slightly sunburnt skin, I was sensitized to it. It actually started to burn just slightly in some areas of my face. Now, I had not previously had any negative reaction at all to the Art of Shaving creams, but in this instance, I did. And I attribute that 100% to the condition of my skin being abused by the environment, not just me. But it was interesting. It was not, again, something that, I expected. Now, of course, my lather bowl did great. My Samog 830 did, its usual fabulous job. I really, I got to tell you again, if I was on a budget and I had $20 and that was the only $20 that I could spend on a brush, I would buy a Samog 830 or a Samog 1305 all day long, and the only difference between the two choices is if I preferred a short handle, a long handle, a plastic handle, or a wood handle. I mean, that would be it, because those brushes, they're my go-tos. I mean, I've got Badgers sitting there, and I've got a Plisson, and I've got another synthetic, and for just about everything, whether I'm traveling or whatever, I mean, I'm sorry, those Samog brushes are by far, I mean, I've even got an Omega brush, and I used it, and it's like, okay, I haven't picked it up in a month. It's just, the Samogs are my go-to, and I thoroughly enjoy them. Now, once you get past the brush and the bowl and the soap, of course, the razor once again did an absolutely fabulous job. The mirror moving around was just, a little bit annoying, disconcerting, scary at times, but all in all, good stuff. Another camping trip under the belt. So after my, in addition to my camping fun, if you will, the other razors that I've been using this week is I used my my Hydromagic, or my Hydromatic. I call it Magic because it is a fabulous razor. I used my my Hydromatic, and it performed, it's an injector, and it performed marvelously with a new blade. And I get a lot of shaves out of it, but I do notice a degradation in shave quality over time. Now, the other one that I used this week, the other razor that I used, was my my Featherweight Gem. And the thing about the Featherweight Gem is that I used the same carbon steel PAL blade that I used last week in addition to my straight razor shaves. And I got an absolutely fabulous shave out of that thing. So it's probably, been on skin 5, maybe 6 times at this point, and has performed marvelously. It really has. And I must say, I am taking much better care of that blade in the fact that, once it comes out of the razor, I'll dry it off and set it up so that it gets air all the way around it. And there's no moisture on it, so it's not rusting, it's not degrading in any shape, fashion, or form that I am aware of while it's not being used. But it has done really, really a nice job. I'm kind of surprised because before I was getting, maybe 3, 4, shaves out of it before it started degrading, and I started noticing, it wasn't shaving quite as close, or something like that. It never was bad. It never was like a blade that tugged or pulled or, nicked or anything like that. But it's just, there's a degradation in the quality. And this go around, I mean, it's been a week. I mean, that thing's been out for, a week, almost a week and a half. And, I've used it 5-6 times at this point, and I haven't noticed any real degradation. Like I said, the last shave with the Gem Featherweight was just, well, it was nice. And so I'm really impressed with that. It kind of, surprises me just a little bit. Now, the other razor that I used this week, and in fact, this is the one I used today, was the gold dollar that I had bought from the Traditional Shaving Evangelist, TSE, Chris Bailey's own. Well, they got that mixed up, but you get the point. From Chris Bailey, I bought this gold dollar that had been sharpened by Bill, and it did a great job. It really did. I mean, I did 2 passes on my cheeks, and actually I did 3 because I did a with the grain, and then I did kind of on one side it was against the grain just because of the way things are, okay, and the other side it was kind of a cross grain, and then vice versa. So fabulous job on the cheeks. When I got down to the neck, I actually was able to get close with this razor. And it was the way I was holding my jaw. Now, unfortunately, after shaving in, 36-degree weather and using a straight razor last week and over the weekend and not having any problems at all, this thing... And it's a testament to how sharp it is. It is, well honed, well taken care of, apparently well stropped, which, well, of course, is a surprise, because anything that I have to do with sharpening that works well, it's always kind of a surprise. It did, in fact, cut me. And it cut me right in the neck. Well, of course, they do call them cutthroats for a reason, and I prove that with my wife standing there snickering. But I did, and when it happened, I just went, ouch, and that was about it. And I knew it was going to be painful, and it wasn't really too bad until I put the Illume block on it, and then it kind of, raised its hand and made me pay attention just a little bit. But great shave. Other than the fact that I cut myself, great shave. So from that regard, from the Ministry of Sharp Things, multiple sharp things have been at my throat and only succeeded in drawing blood once. So success. I haven't bled out. They're not making blood sausage out of me or anything, so that's a good thing. And all in all, good stuff. But I am noticing that I am picking up my straight razors more and more and more. I'm getting much more comfortable in their use. Now, with that said, I must say that I am picking up my straight razors and my single-edged razors so far in the last 2 weeks. I haven't picked up a double-edged razor in quite some time. It's all been single-edged and straights, which is just rather unique. I may have to force myself to grab hold of a double-edged razor here in the coming weeks over Thanksgiving, perhaps. Well, just because. It's just one of those things. It's a curiosity, It's just one of those things that whenever I do one of these shows, I lay out in front of me all the stuff that I've used, and quite often when I'm talking about it, I have it in my hand, which is, a marvel that I'm not slicing myself up with some of this stuff, but I don't. So it's just one of those things that I sit here and I'm physically looking at it going, that's rather unusual. Everything's single-edged. But it has done an absolutely marvelous job this week. Okay, after my camping trip, I came back. My face is dry. It's just, it's almost, I hate to say it, but you can see this in older people. Their skin gets thin. Their skin is like even thinner than paper. It's like onion skin. And so I came home, and the first thing that I did is I reached for the balm. And the first one that I grabbed was the Myersol Emulsion, which is a white balm that has been, well, a godsend. It really has. It really does an excellent job for me personally, and I enjoy the feel, I enjoy the smell, but it has done just an absolute excellent job of rehydrating my face. Whenever it gets dry, or, I have irritation, due to dryness or chapping or, those kind of things, windburn, sunburn, a little Myersol really, really goes a long way, and so I really enjoy that. So here I am in the morning, this morning as a matter of fact, and I shaved with my gold dollar straight, and it does a good job, but I'm feeling just, the skin is not quite, well, itself. There's just a little bit of dryness there. So this morning, instead of reaching for the Myersol, just because I truly enjoy the smell, I reached for the Cold River Soapworks Aftershave Balm, a fragrance #1, the classic fragrance, and got to smell the cedar that's in it, and really enjoyed that. And, it's in a little pump bottle, and really dispenses well. Actually, it dispenses easier than the Myersol, because sometimes, especially when it's cold, the Myersol doesn't want to come out of the bottle. And then when you shake it out, it's like ketchup, you get a blob and you want a little bit more, and you shake it again, and of course then it all comes out, and then you got too much, and then it's just a mess. And quite honestly, the little pump bottles that Cold River Soapworks use for their balms, I really like. It's very, very handy. And when I first got it, it was like, okay, that's cool. It's kind of a nice. Okay, I'll say it. It's kind of a nice gimmick. But quite honestly, it's really functional. It's really handy. And as I've used it more and more, and I haven't used it, I've got a lot left. But as I've used it, I really, really enjoy it. And it's just nice. It gives you, a nice amount, and a couple, 3 squirts of that stuff, and you're good to go. And so from that aspect, so I used that this morning, and let things kind of rehydrate, and then gave myself a nice aftershave splash, if you will, of a little bit of Clubman, just because, well, I felt like it. And that was the go-to fragrance this morning, and walked out of the house prepared for a cold day, because last night it broke records for us. It got down to 14 degrees. Now, some of you are going, 14? Hell, I'd like to see 14. Remember, I'm in South Carolina. 14 is a big deal. So anyhow, cold is upon us. I was hoping for a while, especially on my camping trip, and it did kind of come to pass, because about the time Saturday or Sunday rolled along, it was starting to warm up. In fact, it even got up to about 55. We were taking off clothes, shedding layers, and it was like we didn't know how to act. So, I was hoping at the time that the thermal inertia of the South would overcome and defeat the dreaded cold air from the Canadian North. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. So, balms. Way back when I said, I'm not really a balm guy. Quite honestly, the more and more I spend outdoors, the more I have come to absolutely appreciate the hydrating effects of a good balm. And if you can get a good balm like a Cold River Soapworks or a Myersol or something that has a smell, a fragrance that you really, really like, get it. That's all I can say. Just get it. Because if you like it, you'll use it. And if you use it, your skin will be much, much it will be much nicer. It will have the relief. Shaving will become more comfortable, because even though you feel like you're hydrated, if your skin is just a little bit dry, you can get that irritation. have sensitivity to soaps that you've never had sensitivity to before. I mean, all kinds of ills come from the fact that you're not properly hydrating your face. At least that's my perspective from what I've learned so far. The soap this week was sent to me by none other than Ralph. And who's Ralph? Ralph is the proprietor of Knockout Shave. He sent me this note. Rick, you know I'm a huge fan of your show. Wow, I need my glasses. You know, that's another thing that really just irritates me. I am going just... I can't see worth a dang close up. I can't read without reading glasses at this point. It's really, really annoying. I know it comes with age, but my gosh, it's just, an independent cuss like me who doesn't want to have anything in the way of the experience of life, and the only way that I can read is to have glasses. It just... first off, thank you very much for inventing glasses, and thank you very much for giving me the things that I need to allow me to read a book, read a letter, whatever. Thank you for making those things. I truly do appreciate it, but God, it just irritates me that I need them. Anyhow, so the soap this week comes from none other than Ralph over at Knockout Shave. Now, he wrote me a letter and he said, Rick, you know I'm a huge fan of your show. And I recently came out with some Tallow shave soaps. As my contribution to the show, I have included a puck for you. I hope you find that it performs as well as I think it does. Okay, so full disclosure, Ralph sent me a puck of Knockout Shave handcrafted artisan tallow shaving soap. And the fragrance, Cool Blue. I like that. It's got kind of that brings back memories. Anyhow, I'm sitting here smelling it, I'm playing with the tin, the puck. I have been using this soap all week. Okay. Here are my observations. First off, the Cool Blue smells very, very nice. It's got a kind of a menthol peppermint thing going on. I really like it. It's very refreshing. It's it's just nice. It's great for the morning. It would be fabulous in the summertime. I mean, that's the kind of wake me up type scent that would really go well in summer. Anyhow, I have thoroughly enjoyed it here in the fall, early winter. It's not just for summer, but that would really go with the summer. Anyhow, tallow shaving soap from Knockout Shaves. Okay. So when I first got this, I, just opened up the puck, didn't do anything. I didn't put any water on it. I didn't do anything. I soaked a boar brush, knocked the water off of the brush, did about 20 rotations with the brush, put it in my lather bowl, proceeded to lather up, added a teaspoon of water, and bam! Beautiful, beautiful lather. Okay? Very, very nice. Easily enough lather there for a 3 or even 4 pass shave. I mean, just wonderful experience. Thick. Oh my gosh. Thick like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, oftentimes what I see happening is, I'll go ahead and lather up my face and start off with circular motions and then paintbrush to get that good thick layer. And that real thick layer only occurs the first time. Okay. Every single time I applied this soap, little rotation motion, little paintbrush motion, and by the time I'm done, the same thick, rich, luxurious, good-smelling lather is on my face. I mean, it was really kind of neat. And in fact, it was, to me, that was the thing that stuck out more than anything else, more so than the Mitchell's wool fat or even some of the other tallow-based soaps that I've used, this one, for whatever reason, created a thick lather that stayed. I was really, really impressed. Excellent glide, excellent cushioning, beautiful face feel when you get done, and you're rinsing off. I mean, it was marvelous. Okay, so that was the first day. So to continue the next day, I said, okay, so it performs well with a boar brush. Okay, boar brushes have a little bit of backbone, and they're stiff and they can scrape up a good amount of soap. Let's give it a test. Let's go ahead and lather that puppy up with the Plisson, which doesn't have much backbone. I think, if I offend somebody by saying a Plisson doesn't have a backbone, you get offended by just about everything, I'm afraid, because the Plisson, I think it's safe to say, and I think most people will agree, has virtually no backbone. It's a wonderfully soft brush. It's a wonderfully lathering brush, but it has no backbone. So, wet the brush, shook it out, 20 or so revolutions in the Tallow Knockout Shave soap. Into the lather bowl she goes. A little bit of extra water, about a teaspoon, maybe a little bit less. Boom. Beautiful, wonderful, luxurious, thick lather. I mean, it was the same thing all over again. And of course, in this case, it was also coupled with the legendary Plisson softness. Talk about a luxury shave. I mean, just the feel on your skin is just, well, it's heaven. It's absolute heaven. Now, don't get me wrong. For me personally, anyhow, my boars are not too shabby. So the Plisson, absolutely a luxurious shave. Absolutely luxurious in combination with Knockout Shave's tallow-based soap. Now, I then said, well, okay, that's nice. What happens when you soak this thing in warm water? So I soaked it in warm water, and what I found was that I didn't need to add any extra water, even after shaking the excess water off of the puck of soap. The additional water that is in the soap itself gave enough extra hydration to the soap to just make an absolutely fabulous, and again, thick soap that was just, it was fabulous. It really was. I have been just overly impressed with this. Previously I had used Mitchell's wool fat and thought to myself, yeah, this is good stuff. Yeah, I think I've got a new favorite. It just may have to have a couple of different scents to play around with here, but oh my gosh, this stuff is great. I've really, really enjoyed it. It has really kind of knocked my socks clean off. It's I'd love to get this stuff in a traditional scent number 1. I'm just the cedar and kind of lavenderish smell. It's just, ooh, that'd be good. Anyhow, it was one of those things where I needed to report to you guys, because I have tried this I've tried it dry, I've tried it with blooming it. It has made virtually no difference other than the amount of water that was in it. It didn't make any difference to the smell, to my nose anyhow. It didn't make a difference at all to the performance or to the latherability or to the amount of lather that this soap produced. It was well, just wow. It was fabulous. It really was just good stuff. So, from my standpoint, highly recommended. I am just kind of in awe to a certain extent that you've got a tallow soap that lathers, first off, this easily, and performs this well. It's a testament to the ability of artisans to come up with new and innovative stuff. So, Ralph, good show. Oh my gosh, good show. Yes, highly recommended. If you haven't checked out Knockout Shave, go do so, because he's got some stuff out there that if the performance that I saw was any indication, it will knock your socks off. Okay, another observation that I have made that was just surprising. Sometimes you look around and you realize you're doing stuff and you go, wait a minute, that is not at all what I intended to do. I intended to do something completely different, and yet I find myself going back to, well, the old, the tried, and yes, the true. Okay, so what the heck am I talking about? Many months ago, I bought a strop from none other than Chris Bailey. And I had full intention of using said strop for all of my stropping needs. And what I was using for a strop at the time was in fact and I'm thinking it's 3-inch. I may be wrong. I'm pulling out a ruler here. No, in fact, it's actually 2-inch. It's a 2-inch leather strip. It's a belt strip. And it's probably, I don't know, maybe 3.5 feet long, 4 feet long. And I have folded this thing in half and hung it on my towel bar in my bathroom. And that is what I started out with for a strop. That's that was it. I strop razors, I strop knives. That was my strop. And I bought the one from Chris Bailey, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's wide. When you set a razor on it, the whole blade of the razor is on the strop, is on the leather. It's beautiful. It's black. It's wonderfully made. I love the thing. I just don't use it because I find myself for some reason, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's the sound that this thing makes. I don't know if it's habit. I don't know. I literally do not know why. Uh-oh. Let's try that. I literally don't know why. I don't understand why I do the things that I do sometimes. But I find myself, whenever I strop a razor, going back to that old strip of belt leather. It's just regular tan belt leather. And I do just a fabulous job of stropping on the silly thing. It's been used so much that it actually has particles of leather or of metal embedded in it. It's got the wear and the marks and everything of steel going across it consistently over time. But I find myself constantly going back to just an old simple piece of leather. And part of me feels bad about that. And part of me says, well, okay, why not? If it works for you, and if you know how to use it, and if you're using it well, don't do anything different. Just go with the flow. But part of me feels bad about it because I bought the other one specifically because it was a nice strop. Oh, well. Anyhow, it's one of those things where I sit here and I think to myself, okay, sometimes in life, you just got to go with what works, not with what's expected, and not even perhaps what you anticipated the outcome to be, but you just got to go with the flow and go with what works, because at the end of the day, you'll be happier, you won't be stressed out over the small stuff, and it's just good. And so that's what I've been doing. But as part of my journey, and as one of the things that I have noticed on my journey, and one of the things that I paid particular interest to as I was using my straights more and more in the last couple of weeks, I wanted to report on that because you too may find yourself picking up the old tried and true, even though when you got new and beautiful sitting right there next to you, and feeling bad about it. Well, don't. Don't feel bad about it. Just go with what feels comfortable, because at the end of the day, we're here to have fun. We're here to experience, the life and the art of shaving. Yeah, I know it's a name, but it is truly an art. And each person is their own artist. And you got to make it up as you go along, because if you're going to rely on somebody else to set the rules for you and create your expectations for you, I'm sorry, but, you're probably not interested in wet shaving anyhow, because if somebody else is setting the rules for you, you're probably using the can of goo and an old plastic stick of something, with multi-blades in it or something. I mean, that's just the way it is. So, anyhow, I just wanted to report that, yeah, I have found myself kind of, slipping back into, certain norms for me anyhow that seem to work. And if you do too, don't feel bad. In fact, give me a call. Let me know. Love to hear from you. Panacrema. In the world of luxury, there are no compromises. Created by the marriage of two great traditions, Italian shaving soap performance and fine English sense, Panacrema set out to do what few accomplish. No compromise. Most shaving soaps are a compromise of ease of lathering, hydration, glide, protection, and a soothing after-the-shave feel. At Panacrema, compromise is not an option. In fact, in order to achieve all this, Panacrema invented a new method for making their soaps, all to bring you the luxury experience you so richly deserve. Tallow-based shaving soaps in 7 exquisite scents. Along with their unparalleled performance, they are sure to please. Would you like to try true luxury? Do you have an appreciation for old-world artisan products? Panacrema, handmade with care in Italy, and available at panacrema.com. Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at brushandsoapandblade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at brushandblade. You can also visit us at our blog, brushandsoapandblade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.